Hello and welcome to day 3 of Your Body Whispers. So, we're at the midway point in our journey to coming into relationship with our body. On day 1, we paid attention to the sensations of our body and gave a wish of kindness for each body part that we were bestowing our attention upon. You may or may not have journaled about this experience. Whatever you've done is okay. Day 2, we use the body scan as a journey to go deeper into our emotions and the way the emotions express themselves through the sensations of our body, and how each one of us, each one of our bodies has a different languaging around emotions. Day 3 is a lot lighter than day 1 and day 2. In fact, this is the day of the treasure hunt. And I'm going to give you not just one, but 2 treasure hunts that you are, or quests, I can call it, that you are about to embark upon. And according to what your life looks like, your schedule, your mobility, your needs, the weather, and you'll see why I'm saying weather soon enough, you can choose to do both the quests or any one of them. But I have to tell you, at this point of time, that the treasures that we amass in quest 1 is what we're going to use on day 4. And I will give you alternatives in case you haven't been able to do quest 1. So don't worry too much about it. The point of telling you this is to entice you, to make you curious about doing quest 1 and what is to come tomorrow. Quest 2, we're going to use the items that we discover and collect, ordinary items, in a very different way on day 5. And quest 2, I think, should be possible for most of us. Again, if it isn't, just listen to day 5 and work backwards. Okay, so there are workarounds to everything. I don't want you to get tense. The idea of kind of building it up is only to bring in curiosity and this element of a little playfulness and fun and excitement, because as I have said in many recent posts of mine, a powerful way to reclaim a relationship with our body is to remember that our bodies were not given to us as an inconvenience. Okay, sometimes in spiritual circles and religious circles, we tend to think of the body as an inconvenience, that it gets in the way of whatever religious or spiritual path we are following, that the needs of the body, the physical needs, the need to sleep, the need to eat, the emotional needs for companionship, for longing, we see this as coming in the way of whatever religious or spiritual goal we have, or what is imposed upon us from authorities. And the world and society as a whole, we've spoken about this, it does a number on us. It makes us think our body is inconvenient, its needs are inconvenient, we have to push through it, we have to transcend our limits, we have to kind of push ourselves to the limit. And there is a place for that, okay? There is a place for finding your growth edge and leaning into it and pushing those boundaries. But one thing that society doesn't teach us is discernment. The second thing, and that is the crux of today's treasure hunt and quest, is to reclaim the pleasure that our bodies can give us. And by pleasure, I don't mean anything very dark or deep or sexual, although those are forms of pleasure which are worthy of pursuit. But I am not the appropriate teacher for those sorts of pleasure. The pleasure that I found in my body is the joy that I could get from positive emotions like happiness, like I described yesterday, when I go to pick up my daughter from school. and the joy that I get from art, which I came to very late in life, after I turned 37, I think, much after I had my daughter. So she was already 2 years old by then. So the pleasure of making things with our hands, the pleasure that comes in from our five ordinary senses, the pleasure of the mundane, a ray of light falling on your face, the feel of grass beneath your feet, the smell of wet earth. And again, many of these are universal, and there are ways in which these experiences are specifically joyful to us. Maybe because they're associated with places or people or memories, or maybe because they're just suited to the flavor of our personality. So without further ado, and this one I promise to keep as short as possible because the other two did go over the time. I wanted to keep these prompt videos to like 20 minutes, so you would get time to do the things. But I think in days 1 and 2, you have done the guided experience along with me. That's how I designed it. So if you were able to do it that way, I hope it hasn't taken up a lot of your time. Not because I don't think that this work is worthy of giving your time to, but more because I know that even with the best of intentions, we are all really busy people, and we all have multiple responsibilities, and our responsibilities are often conflicting, and sometimes it's just not possible to devote time when a particular event or program or challenge like this is happening. And so of course I have made provision for you to have access beyond these 14 days, but I will not waste time talking about that yet. It is there in the emails, it is there on the registration page, and I will be sending you further emails about that. So to come back to the treasure hunt. So quest number 1 is this. I want you to go for a walk. Now this sounds really simple, okay? I love going for walks, and yet I resist it with all my might, because for a person with ADHD, there are just so many steps, right? You find the right time, and then you pick your clothes. So I have to change out of what I call my home clothes, and I have to wear my walking clothes, and I have to wear my shoes, and then I have to go down, and I live in a high rise, so I have to go right down to the ground floor, and then I have to decide whether I will walk in the walking area or in the park. And sometimes all of that overthinking can get in the way. And if it's like that for you as well, or if the weather isn't supportive, because right now it's really, really hot in Nagpur where I live. It's extremely hot, and so you really just don't want to go down for a walk. The heat literally radiates from the concrete pavement that we have around our park. So I would say one of the things is that I don't really have a natural space where I can go and walk, or a big enough park or garden. But to some extent, some part of me knows that's an excuse. So I know there's going to be some resistance to this, and there's going to be some real barriers as well. And so I trust you. I trust you to come up with a way. And if you don't, have a park or a natural area where you can go and walk, maybe you have your own garden or your own yard. Maybe you have just a balcony with potted plants. So wherever you can find a source of nature. And I know this is the middle of the week, right? This prompt lands on Wednesday, so which is the middle of the week. And if at all it's not possible for you to do now, please show up for tomorrow if you have time tomorrow. Like, don't think that tomorrow will be a waste because you haven't done today. And then maybe on Saturday or Sunday, on the upcoming weekend, you can go out on this walk, and it can be a short walk or it can be a long walk. But I want you to walk with your senses completely alive. So too often we walk with earphones in our ears. We're listening to a podcast, we're catching up on classes, we are maybe talking to friends. And you can totally do that, okay? You're catching up with your mom or whatever it is, you can totally do that. But just give yourself a segment of time, maybe about 10 minutes would be good, when you do not allow yourself to be distracted by something like a phone or call or a podcast or music even, and you allow yourself to become aware of your body wherever you are located, the force of gravity acting on your body, and you walking through that space. And as you walk, I want you to see and notice and observe. And the very best way I know to make myself focus and pay attention is to name what I'm seeing. You don't necessarily have to do a value judgment like saying, oh, that is a beautiful tree of XYZ species and it has fresh green leaves on it. But you could observe, well, I see a tree in front of me and it is tall and its trunk is broad or its trunk is slender, or I see a grove of trees. I see young and new leaves on the trees. I see old crinkly leaves at the base of the tree. If I walk in those old crinkly leaves, they make a crunching sound. So whatever are your observations, obviously you don't have to say it out loud if you're in public and there are other people and you're uncomfortable talking out loud, which I'm sure is true for most of us. But you can do it in your mind. You can have this running commentary in your mind. And so what is it that you see around you? What is it that you feel as you walk? What is the ground like beneath your feet? Is it hard? Is it soft? Is it grassy? Is there a barrier of your footwear between the ground, or are you able to go barefoot? And of course, if you're planning to go barefoot, again, please be safe and make sure that there's no litter, glass particles, anything sharp that can cut you. But if you do have, like we do, a patch of grass which is fairly well maintained, you can try going barefoot in the grass and see what it feels like. Is it soft? Is it cool? Is it squelchy? Is there a warmth of the earth? If you have muddy puddles and you want to walk through them or jump through them, well, what does that feel like? So I want you to walk with your senses alive. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? Are you listening to bird sound? Can you hear crickets? Can you hear the traffic in the distance? Okay, so focusing on all the information that you can get through your eyes, through your nose, through your ears, and through the movement of your body, through the orientation of your body in time and space, through the texture and tactile sensations of your feet. And this is where the quest part of it comes in. I want you to go for a treasure hunt of things that you can gather from nature that you can take home with you. Now let me give you some examples, because this may not necessarily be as easy. Well, you could pick flowers. You could pick leaves, dried leaves, fresh leaves, twigs. I will share with you all a photo of, I found this lovely lemon tree where I'd taken my daughter for a class, and I was taking a walk in their compound, and they had this lovely lemon tree, and a branch had fallen down and it had shriveled off, and it was beautiful with these tiny little tendril like branches, like twigs, and the dried up, shriveled up lemons on them. And you know, you could even get a hint, a waft of the scent of that lemon. So it was beautiful, and I brought it home. But usually these foraged items, they don't last very long. So you could pick up stones or rocks or pebbles. Go back to your childhood days. Were you one of those people who collected stones? Like, we have a massive stone collection at home because my daughter loves collecting stones. Now, if you don't go out into a garden, you may have a small balcony, potted plants in your balcony, and you could, well, look at the different textures of the leaves and the different shapes and the colors and kind of be present with them. You could water your plants and make that into a sensory experience where you smell that wet earth smell. You may even decide to do a bit of digging and, a little bit of repotting your plants if that is something that you meant to do. So this is all just to give you examples of what you can do. If you have a small little herb garden, well, you can crush the herbs and you can smell them. And if you live near a beach or a riverside, the options near the riverside for collecting stones would be very, very vast. If you live near a beach, there's chances that you would get seashells or dried up seaweed. Again, you could get interesting little, well, shells is mostly what we collected in our beaches in Bombay and Goa. But here I do want to interpose a bit of a ethical concern. I have lately heard that it is not environmentally sound to pick up shells from a beach. So you may want to look into whether that is something in your area. You can bring a grain full of sand home, actually. So you don't necessarily have to get shells. So you may want to look into that for shells. Now, as far as say plucking fresh flowers or leaves is concerned, I believe that nature is very bountiful and generous. And I also believe, this is a personal belief, you do not have to accept it, but I believe in the spirit of every living thing. And that means that I will, in my mind, request the plant or the tree if they are okay for me to take away a gift from them, and then I will thank them. So in case you don't like to pluck grass, weeds, flowers, leaves, this may be a bridge to help you do it. And if not, that's perfectly fine. You can always pick up what's already fallen, right? Dried nuts, dried acorns. We don't really have nuts and acorns, but yeah, we have these dried seeds, fallen flowers. I love picking up fallen flowers. You know, if they've just recently fallen, they're usually in pretty good condition, and I can bring them back home and do what we're going to be doing tomorrow, which I'm really excited about. And so these are the two parts of the first quest. Okay, so the first quest is to go out into nature, whatever nature looks like for you, whether it's a windowsill herb garden, whether it's potted plants in your balcony, whether it is a nearby nature trail, whether it is a park with a few trees in your building or in your society, whether it's the beach, whether it's the riverside. And then to walk with your senses alive, to pay attention to everything, to maybe describe it to yourself in your head. That's a tool which we call sportscasting, and it's one I go into great detail in my Art of Mindfulness program, which, if you join Cocoon, is a bonus. So Art of Mindfulness is a bonus that you will receive for free if you join Cocoon. But more about that later. Sportscasting is basically just describing what you see in a neutral manner to yourself, right? Like I said, you don't have to make a value judgment about whether it's a beautiful flower or an ugly flower or a shriveled bush. You can just say, I see a dried up bush with more thorns than leaves. It is spooky. It looks painful to touch. Those kind of things. Like, you don't have to make a judgment. And then you will forage for items from nature. So do take along with you a small container or a basket or something in which you can bring your gatherings home. And you can forage fresh, or you can forage found items from nature. And the quick reminder about ethical concerns, and if you have any moral concerns, then requesting or asking the spirit of that tree or plant might be a way to bridge and see if you get permission for it. The second quest which I think most of us will be able to do, is to forage for items in your own house, wherever it is that you are living. What are the items that can awaken your senses, or they can at least provide a sensory input? What are those items? So look around your house, and I want you to see the conditions in which you live, the circumstances in which you live, however grand or humble they may be, with new eyes, as if you were entering that space for the first time. Is there anything really soft and cozy? Is there anything very textured, like it can be your bedside table lamp, you know, the lampshade, or it can be a rug that you have. And you may not necessarily be able to kind of pick up that item and put it aside for the day 5 activity, but you can always just make a note of it on a piece of paper, or you can stick a post-it note on that place. Maybe you have a really textured vase which is very beautiful. Maybe you have a cup, a coffee cup or a mug which is very smooth and cool, made of granite, or granite like material, or ceramic, and it feels really good in your hand, so you can put that. Maybe you have a really beautiful paperweight. We used to get these seashell paperweights when I was a child, and my grandfather had a lot of them, and they were beautiful. You could put them to your ear and hear the sea, and they also doubled up as a paperweight, and they were very lovely. And you may or may not have scented candles, but you don't really need them. You can go to the spice rack in your kitchen cabinet or your herb rack, and you can see if there are any fragrant spices. Like, I live in India, so there are a lot of very fragrant spices: cinnamon sticks and cloves, cardamom, nutmeg, crushed peppercorn, which I can crush. Um, I have oregano. I have usually I have a bunch of essential oils, and that's because I was exploring essential oils when I was recording Do It Yourself Calm in a Box, which is a workshop which I have available. So you don't really need specific things. You could have a jar of coconut oil which you maybe use for your hair or you use for cooking. You may have heavy smelling oil like mustard oil. So anything which is sensory. You may have a really nice shawl or a blanket. You may have a small stuffy. You may have children who have toys and stuffies. You may have fidget spinners. So these are just to give you examples of items around the house, and like I said, if you can collect and put them in a box, that's fine. And if you can't, just make a note of what they are. If they were a really textured carpet or a lampshade or curtain wall hangings or a textured piece of art which is up on the wall. Open your eyes to the sensory delight in the world around you, in nature, yes, but also in the very human, very mundane, very often artificial world that we think that we live in. There's sometimes a lot of beauty in all of this ordinariness. And because we see our own houses and our own lives day in and day out, we skip over or skim over some of these beautiful things. And if you're having trouble coming up with things, you can always post it in our group and I can give you suggestions if you would like. But these are your two quests, quest 1 and quest 2, and I hope that these little treasure hunts inside and outside your house will be a delightful experiment. It will allow you to see things differently. If you have children, try and take them along with you, because children see in a way that we adults have forgotten how to see. And I'm not just saying this as a platitude. My daughter always finds wonder in things that I think are utterly terrible. Like, she loves buses. So she gets really excited when she sees a double-decker bus. And for me, it's a huge belching monstrosity that's getting in the way of my driving. And it's often belching out this disgusting smoke. But she gets so excited because, wow, it's a double-decker bus. Like, you can climb up in a bus. You can sleep in a bus when you have those sleeper buses in India. So they have a way of making you see the beauty in even very mundane, very ordinary, ostensibly even polluting vehicles. So they're really good at this. So if you're having a hard time, take a child along with you. And if you don't have a child, try and go back in time to when you were a child, or just try and look at things with a fresh eyes, or do the sportscasting thing. Okay, just describing what you see. And you may find that there is much more beauty in front of you than you have realized. And so I will see you in the evening for our day 3 lesson. And it will be more informal today. It will be more of question answers and what this experience was like for you. As always, you're welcome to journal on your experience. You're welcome to share about it in our group. And if you have any questions, I'm always happy to answer them. Bye.